Okay, so I'm going to introduce Cllr Maleiki Haybe next. He's a Green Councillor for Broome Hall and Sharrowvale. Myself and Maleiki were at the protest on Sunday, and it was exhausting. There were lots of young people, youth there, and we just had to make sure that they were okay. You know, understandably, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of anger with young people. And when we were explaining to them, and I went up to one and said, look, I really don't want you to fight. And he said, I'm not fighting. I'm here to defend my city against these people. They do not come in our communities and cause fear and division and hatred between us. And this is 16 and 17-year-olds, you know, feeling like they had to be there to protect our city. And I'm really grateful for Maleiki, who was there on the day, and a few others who are here, Councillor Nabila Malana as well, for helping us support the young people and making sure that they were okay. Anyway, over to you, Maleiki.
Would you guys mind if I stay seated? Yeah. Apologies. I'll stand up gradually. Hi, I'm Councillor Haybe, Maleiki Haybe, Broome Hall and Sharrowvale. I want to start by saying the rhetoric we're seeing in the media by the police, our own leaders, is wrong. What do you call a group of people who use fear and violence to reach their political aims? What do you call them? Terrorists. They're domestic terrorists. It's true. They're domestic terrorists. They don't want to call them that. Our young people, like Zahir and Naz were saying, we were with them at the protest, speaking to them. They weren't out looking for violence. They were there because their sisters, who are visibly Muslim, let's remember, Muslim women are the most visible Muslim women, and their siblings, their brothers, their fathers, their community, their neighbours are thinking, okay, there's no one out there to protect us. The media are not calling it what it is. They're going out thinking, I need to be outside. I need to be outside to make sure that I defend our communities. But then again, I also want to highlight one main point, which is zooming out, looking at the bigger picture. The protesters don't have two brain cells. It's a fact. Who's organising on their behalf? Ask yourself these questions. Who is misleading groups of people to different directions? Ask yourself these questions, you know? These people like Tommy Robinson, he is organised, he wants chaos. That's what he wants from our communities. But the reason we're here today, the reason we go out to counter, is because we're not like them. They're not our teachers. We're here to show them that our communities are full of love. You know, just look around yourself, you know? We're full of love, we're full of heart, we're full of... I sound nervous, that's crazy. I can feel it in my voice, but it's true, and I'm angry. I've just come from a meeting, which pissed me off even more, because they weren't using the right rhetoric, and I tried to challenge them, but they weren't having it. I'm happy to be here right now, because I know you guys all agree with me. So thank you. I'm not going to speak for too long. No.
Just for the Central Ward, Abtisam Mohamed to say a few words.
Project properly. Thank you all for coming. I think it's wonderful to see so many faces today that sends the signal that they are not welcome in our city. I am absolutely livid. As a first-generation migrant, these people are coming after people who look like me. And we have to call it out for what it is. It's racism and it's Islamophobia. The more and more I'm on social media, the angrier I become, because there is so much information out there where people are just refusing to call it what it is, and are using every other word apart from riots, you know, protests, or just trying to dilute the actual issue to make people feel better. People like my mum, 4 years ago when Brexit was a big issue, I think it's more than 4 years ago now, but when Brexit was an issue, my mum had her hijab pulled off her by somebody on the streets who thought it was okay to say, You are not welcome in our country. Now that could easily happen to me. This morning I had a very similar encounter where I didn't look after my own personal security, and I need to now start thinking about, I'm the Member of Parliament for this constituency. I do need to start thinking about what that means for me and myself as well. Where somebody came up to me and said, I have been to 2 of the Tommy Robinson demonstrations in London. What are you going to do about immigration? He visibly became more angry as he was talking. And I had to extract myself from that situation. I had to take myself away thinking this is a potential danger for me. And that shouldn't be the case. It should be the case where everybody who is likely feels safe to move around the city. Feels safe, doesn't have to think about whether I'm advising my family members, don't go into the city centre on Sunday. To my nephew who's going to go to the cinema, change the cinema, you're not going to the Odeon, go to Cineworld instead. These are real life experiences for individuals who look different. And I think the thing that makes me angry is just how the situation is being diluted. However, the contrast to this is that I'm heartened by the level of support in the city, and just how Sheffield is proud to say that we do not welcome this. The numbers that we saw on Sunday spoke for themselves. There were a handful of these right-wing thugs that came from other cities, but we came out in our numbers, and that makes me proud to call myself a Sheffielder. About what will happen, but there is something that I want to say that we have to do, and that's to ensure that we reassure our communities of their place in this city. And we do that collectively, collaboratively, by saying, we're all one. We're all one, and we have to do as much as we can to, I think it was Maleiki Haybe that mentioned this, diffusing the situation, especially with young people. Because I don't want people to point the finger and say, oh look, we expected this. This is what we did. We riled them up the wrong way, and this is exactly who they are. We need to show them that we are better than this as a city, and we will stand up against them, but we do it in our way, just to show that we are a united front and a united Sheffield. So on that basis, I'm going to say that going forward as the MP, I will not be quiet on this issue. There's something that I am... very, very important. I do have red lines, and one of my red lines are that I'm proud of the contribution that migrants make to the city and to the country. I am a first-generation migrant. My grandfather came in the 60s, my father in the 70s, and I'm an immigration and asylum solicitor before I became an MP. So I will not dehumanise migrants. I will not use that language, and I will do as much as I can to push the existing government, as well as people who choose to use dangerous, negative language that leads us to this position, that leads us to people thinking it's okay to treat people in this way. So I will use my voice in that way. I promise you that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abtisam Mohamed. One of our speakers, who is a lawyer, Shazia from Parker Rose, Rotherham, has just sent her apologies. She's having security put into her place of work, understandably, so she won't be able to make it today. I am going to pass the mic on to Maxine Bowler now, who is the co-convener for Stand Up to Racism, and then we'll open it out, so the mic will be sent around, and if people want to make comments, just put your hands up and we'll call you in.
Wow, I think it's amazing how many people have turned up today. That means that people passed that information out through social media, got their friends together, got their work colleagues together and got them to come along, and that is amazing in my opinion. And I think we should be applauding the bravery of our people who went to Rotherham on Saturday, on Sunday, to stand outside the hotel to defend the refugees. I really wish we had been able to send more people, but actually we couldn't get any more coaches. We really struggled to book more coaches to get people over there, but we always knew that Rotherham would be the priority because we'd seen them there before and we knew that they would continue to build. I wanted to say something about what we've seen taking place, because I don't think we have ever experienced anything like this in our lives. I was the Anti-Nazi League organiser for many years in this city from the 1990s onwards, and I'll tell you, even before that, I was opposing the National Front. We have never ever seen a kind of pogromist behaviour that we saw taking place on Sunday, and we've seen in a number of other places, Southport, last night in Portsmouth. And there's a murderous rage amongst these people, and that hate-filled racism really is what our people experienced when they were outside that hotel. And it feels to me that the anger that's pent up in society, which against poverty, against lack of housing, against mass inequality, has been turned on its head, and instead of pointing the finger at the people who've made billions through the pandemic, for example, instead they're pointing the blame at the refugees, at the poorest people, at the people who are the most downtrodden, the most attacked, at the Muslims. That's what they are doing, and we have to stand up hard against. Say that I blame the politicians. I'll tell you I blame the politicians. Who is it who's been whipping up Islamophobia, anti-refugee hatred, who's been creating the hostile environment against refugees, or looking for scapegoats, attacking LGBTQ people, trans people? They are all the while looking for somebody else to blame rather than themselves. The argument that they don't integrate, that they take our jobs and housing, that we've had an invasion on our southern shores. What kind of language is that they've been using? Then the stop the boats rhetoric, then the stuff around Rwanda. All these things are disgraceful. The Palestinian demonstrations, where millions of people have been on the streets, are described as hate marchers, not peace marchers. And again, I think this is an absolute disgrace, and that Muslims and refugees are seen by some people as a threat to women and children is an obscenity, in my opinion. And yes, I blame the Tories, but I'll tell you, I don't believe that Keir Starmer's is that much better. And out of the sewers and the gutters of the system comes the rats, and that's what we've seen on our streets. People thinking that that's the solution to attack refugees. And somebody said it, Tommy Robinson, Stephen Yaxley Lennon, in Cyprus now, I believe. Originally he fled to Spain, but now in Cyprus. I think he learned a few things from Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler said, if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will believe you. And that's exactly what he's been doing, repeating a lie. They have brutalised and distorted the tragic events in Southport and the deaths of 3 lovely young girls who were killed. For them to use that, I think, is an absolute atrocity. And we have to stand apart. Claiming falsely that the perpetuator was a Muslim, and then saying that it was covered up, and that it was a Muslim who was known to MI6, I think is shocking and shows absolute contempt for the people who are grieving in Southport. And of course, Daniel Thomas, who is Robinson's right-hand man, called for riots across the country. And Farage, I call him a fascist enabler, actually. I'll tell you why I call him that. Because he said there is a case to be answered. And when I studied the elections, I saw how many spoiled ballot papers there were which said Reform UK on it. And I'll tell you, that's where they're getting their forces from at the moment. And I want to say this idea that Muslim people are predators is not a new idea, actually. It's something they used in the deep south of America when they used to lynch people because they said they looked at their white women. This is the same kind of crap rhetoric that's being put out today. And what is clear to me, really, is the far right. Actually, they're splintered. You know, we defeated the English Defence League. I know people keep calling them the English Defence League, but they're not. They're splintered because we fractured their organisation, but they are trying to build the kind of street movement that we saw in the 1930s in Germany. And Hitler said, mass demonstrations must burn into the little man's soul the conviction that though he is a little worm, he is part of a great dragon. Goebbels said, whoever controls the street also conquers the masses, and whoever controls the masses thereby conquers the state. And this is what we are talking about here today, and that's why it is so serious, and we do need to make sure that we have the maximum amount of unity to fight back against them, that we stand together solidly in unity against the far right. And stand up to racism is a single issue, united front. We don't ask you to have anything other than to be opposed to racism and opposed to fascism. We are prepared to stand alongside lots of different people who come from different traditions. Actually, we all come from different traditions on this platform here today. But we do say, if we're going to learn the lessons of the 1930s, that we have to make sure that we stand together in unity. That is what a united front is about, and we are asking that you make sure that you're involved in that. You don't have to agree with us on every question, just make sure you're involved. And the fascists really are the enemies of everybody, every single one of us. They're the enemy of the Muslims, of the black people, of refugees, of LGBT+, of the trade unionists, because ultimately they would scrap the trade unions. And you know, the gas chambers, they weren't just full of Jewish people. They were full of trade unionists, they were full of gypsies, they were full of disabled people. And today, really, what we are talking about is the refugees and Muslims are the same as the attack they had on the Jews in the 1930s. Now they are attacking the Muslims and the refugees. So we have to make sure we stand together. And somebody actually, a young man who's in the audience, reminded me of Pastor Niemöller's quote, and he said, first they came to the Jews, and I didn't say anything because I was not a Jew. Then they came to the communists, and I didn't say anything because I was not a communist. Then they came the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. And then they came for me, and there was nobody left to stand up and fight for me. And that's why we have to stand in unity together. I'll just say a few things that we are organising. Tomorrow night, we are trying to organise as many people to get to Rotherham, to Parker Road's office. We want to make sure that the fascists do not repeat what they did in Rotherham on Sunday. Now, I know that they are also going for the Sheffield asylum solicitors as well. But I feel like that Rotherham is the biggest danger, and therefore we need to try and get as many across there as possible. There's a sign-up sheet for people to put down if they've got cars, if they can carpool, if we can help get people over, and we will release a point where we're going to go from. Actually, security is quite an important question. When we went to the Tommy Robinson demonstration, all of our tickets were filled up with fake names. Unfortunately, the racists don't understand, really. They put down Mohammed Singh, which is not usually what Muslim name and Sikh name. Not usually what happens, really, which made the alarms start to ring. So we do have to be careful, and they did threaten our coaches this time when we went across as well. So we do have to be very, very conscious of security. Now, I know that tomorrow there's a lot of the offices are being closed in the city centre, but I'll tell you, we don't believe that this is legitimate information. The police say they haven't got any information either, by the way. There's nothing on the internet about this demonstration, except for, originally, the fascists said they were going to come on the 7th, and they changed it the 4th because they said they couldn't get people here on the 7th. Now, that could be a ploy. They could be coming, and I think we do need to make sure we've got people in the city centre to make sure that that doesn't happen. And then also on Saturday, unless the fascists decide they're going somewhere in our area, again, we will be having a big unity demonstration. We need to take our city centre and say that we are standing together. But the most important thing is that we show the far right that we will not be defeated, that we will not let them drive us out again. We will not let them attack our brothers, our sisters, and all those people who are in the hotels. We will not let them attack those hotels again, and we will not let them attack some of the leading asylum immigration solicitors in the country. So please put your name down on the list that I'm hoping is going around. I'm hoping there's still space on it. And I'll pass back to Zahira. Thank you, everybody.
My name is Alexi Diamond. I'm a Green Councillor from Cleveland Valley. I just want to echo some of the things that have been said, and that we need to centre our response around the people that the far right are targeting. We need to centre our defence around local mosques, around the refugee and asylum seeker community. And we need to have them in mind in everything that we do in our organisation. So we need to reach out to these people, because what we're facing is domestic terrorism. What it was on Sunday in Rotherham was a lynch mob. The police should have been far, far more prepared, and we need to ask questions about why the hell it wasn't accorded. How the hell did they get in? We need to face up to the fact that we live in a racist country. This country is built on racism. We need anti-racist education, and we need to get into our schools and start, because there are children there. There are children there, and racism is a learned thing. So I just want to end with a note of caution and say that we need to prioritise safety. We need to prioritise the safety of our young people, and we need to prioritise the vulnerable people, as we've just heard about. Tommy Robinson or Stephen Yaxley Lennon has already been making material based on some of the things that happened in Sheffield on Sunday. So we need to be prepared for that. They're going to try and make propaganda material out of people defending themselves. So we need to be smart. We need to be smarter than them. We need to be proactive, not reactive. We need to have demonstrations on our own terms, not their terms, and not get caught in a trap. Thank you.
Everything you said is facts, it's truthful, and it's been repeated. I want to focus on what Amina said and what Makol said. This whole battle, this whole conversation, we're fighting it on two fronts. It's a PR media fight, and it's protecting these hotels. The youngest from my area, from your area, from all your areas, who have these lived experiences, whose family will get attacked, have the resolve to go out there and fight them. They have the resolve to stay there even if they're going to get hurt. You need to ask yourselves, like Amina said, use your privilege. Ask yourself before you leave today, do you have that same resolve? Because if you don't, they're going to go out, and they'll still lose that media PR fight. And that'll whip up more hate across the country. Honestly, Everything everybody has said is facts, but we're not talking strategy today. There's a lot of heads in this room. There's a lot of organizations in this room. Let's talk strategy. No, honestly, this is from the heart. This isn't me having a go at anyone. I truly have a lot of love for every single person in this room. I'm Muslim. My sister doesn't want to come in today. I bet a lot of you guys as well. But you guys can. You can walk through the streets safe. Come here, go home. Have a nice sleep. Our sisters. And I'm emphasizing the women because they are visibly Muslim. They're the ones that are going to get hurt the most. Can we spend the next how long we have left just strategizing? How can we win the PR fight? I'm just going to say, put your hand up if you have an idea of how to win the media PR fight. And one thing to take away from my side is, do you have the result? Ask yourself, because if you don't, you're going to make it worse. I promise you. Thank you. Strategy.
Okay.